3.
Welcome, students, to Monk Meditation, the show about monks in the world of Warcraft.
We'll show you how to beat everyone's favorite dinosaur, we'll go over pitfalls to avoid on your new monk, and Mistweavers go to the dark side, coming up on Monk Meditation, Episode 20.
Here's your host, Chai T.
Hello, one and all, and thank you for joining us live in the dojo or catching up with us later. We've got a full show tonight, and I want to thank our guest host, LeBlue, for joining us at the last moment. Now, Yuki and Captain are both out tonight due to baby stuff, but let's go ahead and check in with tonight's host on how WoW is now on
Storm, Earth,
and fire!
All right, how's it going, everybody? I'm going to start with Daikatsu. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, but not as wonderful as the new couple on their baby, Captain and Naoyuki. Which is what it sounded like from the intro, but I'm pretty sure that's not it.
I'm very proud of both of them.
Yes.
Very happy that they've overcome that difference, and they'll love it when they hear this.
Yeah.
I am doing fantastic. I am fresh from PAX East. I got to play a little bit of Warlords of Draenor. I got my beta invite, so I am ready to go. Now we just need to get it started.
Yeah, once the beta's in, you're good to go. I am quite jealous. Hopefully the rest of us can get into. Air, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastically today. Got my coffee, some beautiful non-rainy day here in Nagoya, Japan. So yeah, doing well. You know, I'm a Draenei now.
What?
I might have changed.
You realize we just set up this whole promo that I'm putting up on the screen right now with you as a gnome, right? You realize that, right?
Yeah, it's a big change. It's a heroic change, is what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got a tail now.
Change?
Yeah. Anything else change?
Let's see. My raid team, Iron Deficiency, we are officially of the retired state.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, but we have some schedule changes coming up. We, dominoes and snowballs, and we decided to retire with grace and dignity. So,
the sad part
something
is
might be happening again in the future, but right now, bit of a free agent. As
you
it
guys
were,
were what,
13
of 14, right? Heroic,
13 of
man.
14 heroic.
Hey, look at it this way.
Was there team even close to you guys?
Well, actually, so the day after about a day after we retired, big congrats to Wayward Enforcers. You know, they took server first 10-man a day or two later. So yeah, good stuff for them. So yeah. I think there's a couple other teams sitting right around 11 to 14 on the server. So winter is coming, being one of them. So good luck to them. And anyone who's doing progression, if you're locking out, you know, if you have one clear since February, put another one in there. Keep them morale up, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so bashing your head against Garrosh can kill a team. It's
doing against any boss for a long amount of time.
Right.
But you know, schedule changes. It's well, especially when it's your raid leader, it can have a big effect on things. But
yeah, we even saw that back in Throne of Thunder with Lei Shen. Lei Shen killed a lot of teams. So, all right.
Yeah, but it's all good. Free agent status right now.
All right, and LeBlue, how's it going, man?
Hey, it's going well. We've also been working on Heroic Garrosh, but we've been on it since February 5th. Had some problems, but it's okay. We fixed it all. As you can see, I am currently in space right now in my Space Ranger outfit. We're gonna have a orbital bombardment, and we're gonna take them out. Just wipe the whole thing out, all today. But no, doing good. Doing crazy things like progressing through by solo tanking Garrosh. Doing awesome.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yup. So Garrosh damage phase 2. Oh, hi there, DPS. You're doing like 50 million damage less to him than me. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, that's insane. You're single tanking it, right?
Yeah. That's our current crazy idea.
Yeah, no, we were single taking it with a paladin, and
I've
vengeance
heard of
is
paladins doing it.
ridiculous.
I've never heard of a brewmaster doing it, so I'm having fun with it. It's enjoyable.
Your healers must love you so much.
Oh, and Chai, remember the ticking heaven detonator? I got a harems too.
Shut up. So
Or
I actually
Warforged?
do have some news on that. I have a trinket. It's a strength
Nice.
trinket,
Oh.
and I stole it from a warrior because I'm a jerk.
Well, it was
That's called-
Warforged.
Yeah, it was.
That's called raid leader privileges.
Exactly.
Well, no, our raid rules are actually, we wanted to make sure that Tier and Warforged kind of stays within the group, so we have KSK. Tier and Warforged, you got to bid on. If nobody bids on it, it's a free roll. Other than that, all other gear is free roll. And it just so happened that the trinket was Warforged.
Yeah.
Which trinket?
Nice.
Thox tail tip.
You have. What's your eye level?
I'm at 560 now.
Okay.
There.
Okay.
Considering how few y'all have actually cleared because of how you do your lockouts and whatnot, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, it's I got the ticking up and detonator flex version, and so I was trying to decide between assurance of consequence and ticking up and detonator for the second slot, but Air has convinced me to stick with AOC. So
Remember that? Okay, AOC is pretty fun. It's,
Yeah.
Once you get a bit higher, pop in the Ebon detonator and see what kind of magic you can pull.
yeah, I was thinking about that. But that strength bonus isn't doing much. But that amplify, man, on the single target fight when we were doing that, I was rocking. I was quite happy with that amplify. I'm ticked they didn't give us an agility amplify trinket. So.
Oh, there's a good reason for that because I knew it would be a crit cap. You know.
All right,
Well, I'm a
well,
brewmaster and I'm taking your trinket.
all right, well, let's check in with the crazy whirlwind of WoW news now in.
Dizzying haze.
All right, so not much in the way of actual news going on. There was something with motorcycles or something, but not really among specifics, so we'll skip over that. Blizzard, however, was at PAX East. Guess who attended the play the alpha got an invite to the beta, as Duke can attest. So how was that, Duke?
Very nice.
You know, for the 7.5 minutes I got to play it after standing in line for an hour, it was actually kind of fun. And the reason it was 7.5 minutes is because when you step up, you know, normally it's like, oh, okay, just pick the class you want to play. It's like, okay, fine. So I got to name them. Okay, pick this specialization I want to play. Okay, I guess, all right, I'm going to pick Windwalker. All right, now set up your keybinds. All right, I guess I'm setting up my keybinds. Okay, now go quest. And it's like 4 quests before you got to kill anything. So I got to kill like 4 things.
There are 4 very savage things, though, right?
Very savage. Absolutely savage. Because you could only play Horde. That's the other thing they didn't tell you. So it's like, yeah, you're talking to Thrall. It's like, I hate this guy. He's a jerk. But, so the area that you're playing is at the beginning of Frostfire Ridge, and it looks like it's just past the intro. You're just starting out. And the interesting thing that I thought, that I saw was that the quest that you're doing to ride off and kill something, it's Duratan riding a wolf. You are also riding a wolf, and Thrall is right next to you also riding a wolf. So they're getting some, you know, father-son time there while they're around. I guess now we know what the answer to all the questions are. It's like, yep, you're just going to be ensconced right in the middle of it, and to hell with the timeline.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. So
Other than that, everything, you know, this was post-squish. I noted I had about 750 agility.
Nice.
It felt nice, but without really testing it out. That's really all I can say. A lot of the changes that they keep talking about weren't in. For instance, if you looked at your readiness, it said that, you know, it's like, oh, one of the abilities that you can queue off of readiness is Fists of Fury, but it's like, why do I need that to be a lower cooldown? So it was interesting playing it, and it was a lot of fun, and now I got this.
Yep.
So the hour might be worth it.
Yep. Yeah, it's I'm jealous. I wish I was there, but
I'll say this: Boston is a lovely city, and on Sunday I decided to walk all of it.
your feet must love you.
Oh, they did.
All right, well, now it's time to keep up well, actually keep your spirits up while the world changes around you, and oh, it is changing.
The sky is falling! The sky is falling!
Uplift. Don't worry, I'm sure it happens to other monks too.
Alright, so we did have some changes to the patch notes that came out on the 17th, so let's go over some of those. It says now Crackling Jade Lightning they're doing some interesting things with CJL. First thing they've did is for Brewmaster and Windwalker, it's going to be a 4-second cast time, down from 6. It also said that it takes 21.3% of our non-existent mana, so yeah. Crackling Jade Lightning for Mistweaver. Now this is in the Serpent stance. No, Fist Weaving stance.
No, this is This is your base. Crackling Jade Lightning will cost 21.3% of base mana.
Right. However, there'll be another change for the Serpent stance, so essentially this is going to be for Fist Weaving stance. It'll cost 21.3% of your base mana. It's now a 4-second cast, down from 6 seconds, so same as the other 2 specs. Now it will also refund 2% of maximum mana if channeled for the entire duration. Also, if you are in Serpent stance, it's free. It costs no mana whatsoever, and if you continue to channel for the entire duration, you'll get 2% of your mana back. So there was a big conversation on Twitter between Reglitch, Suplift, and Celestalon about this. No, it was Raynor.
Yeah. Well, Raynor got into it as well.
Yeah, Raynor got into it as well. So the...
Mist, we should say.
Mist, yes. So the confusion or consternation about it is we already have Mana Tea. And zapping with lightning grants stacks of Mana Tea. So we already have the active mana regeneration. Why do we need this? What circumstances would we switch to that? And... what do you think, Dick?
I mean, one of the reasons that they're doing it is to give Mistweavers a little bit of damage output. Every other healing class, even if they're straight healing, is going to get some sort of do damage and get mana back. For instance, shamans are getting what is it, the totemic lightning, or that basically
currents. It's a glyph right now, and they're basically just saying,
Telluric currents.
Here you go.
Yeah, you're gonna cast this, and you're gonna get mana back. Paladins are getting one that for 3 holy power gives them 4.5% base mana back. So everyone is getting something that you can essentially do to trade a little bit of damage for some mana return. And this is the Mistweaver one. Is it better than Mana Tea?
No.
Not really. But if you're kind of bored and no one really needs healing, this is a good thing to do.
Yeah. So keep in mind that you do have to be casting the entire duration. So you need to be not healing for 4 seconds in order to get 2% of your maximum mana back, which is not a lot. But this is going to be essentially, I am out of Mana Tea stacks. I haven't hit the RNG to get my Mana Tea, and I'm low on mana, and I need mana now. That's going to be CGL.
Because it's not going to turn into Eminence if you're in Serpent stance.
Right.
It just won't, because you don't have Eminence.
You don't have
in
Eminence.
Serpent stance. So the only purpose of doing it is I don't want to use up a Mana Tea stack, or I have none, or I want to do a little bit of damage and it's kind of quiet right now.
Yep.
That's really
something also to keep in mind with Serpent stance as well is that we're not going to be generating near the chi that we are currently, and that inherently already means that we're actually going to have less Mana Tea stacks outside of like Chi Brew, if that stays the same or not.
Which is the
the
other change to Crackling Jade Lightning, that every time it does damage, it'll generate 1 chi.
Yeah, that is one of the biggest changes I saw, was that it'll generate chi every tick. No, that is just for Crane stance.
That is just for Crane stance,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's going to be another one where for mana, you're going to get a little bit of chi back. That's when you're going to want to... That's the only real time you're going to cast it is, I need chi right now.
Yeah. We'll go over Crane stance a little bit later because they made some big changes to that. Let's move on to basically everything else, all of your main heals, Expel Harm, Spinning Crane Kick, Surging Mist, those all got mana reductions. So it takes less mana to cast. So they did this across the board in pretty much every healer classes. Your main staple spells have less mana cost. So you're going to be able to, they're increasing regeneration, they're reducing mana cost. So you're going to have a much more steady throughput of healing in this. They wanted to avoid the pitfalls that came in with Cataclysm healing. This is going to be pretty similar model, but they're trying to fix that initial problem, because the first 2 or 3 patches of Cataclysm, you were all the time.
Absolutely.
But then that
it
last
was
patch,
awful
it was
to be
fine.
a healer.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this, even though all the spells are being a little cheaper, Surging Mist still isn't cheap enough for what they wanted to do.
No, it's pretty heavy.
It needs to go down to about 8%, and hopefully they drop Jab to about 6%.
Yeah, and we'll see what they do with Surging Mist. I don't think this is going to be the last change. I'm okay with it keeping that high of mana if it hits harder. Like, if you have higher throughput on it. Because we have Soothing Mist for our trickle. We don't need trickles. We need smacks. And that's what Surging Mist is supposed to be.
Right.
Okay, now another change they made is Tiger Strikes, which was currently available to Windwalkers only. They've made that available to all monk specializations.
Crazy.
So right now in live, what it does is it'll give you a chance to trigger, 50% attack speed and double attacks for your next 4 attacks. That's what it does right now, which is cool, but that's scrapped. Now all specializations have that. Your auto attacks and multi-strikes have a chance to trigger, and it's 8% chance to trigger when using a 2-hander. 5% chance to trigger when dual wielding. When this is triggered, Tiger Strikes now will grant 50% multi-strike for 8 seconds. So they're kind of making multi-strike the monk stat. Like, that's our signature. Because we are having a lot of things that...
They're making it useful.
Well, there's a lot of things that are adding multi-strike. There's the Tiger Strikes, there's Energizing Brew, there's the Ox Spheres. It's kind of balancing around multi-strike. So it's going to be kind of interesting. But yeah, so now Brewmasters will have that, and Fistweavers will have that. I guess as a Mistweaver, you could smack things with your staff and get multi-strike? Question mark?
Multi-strike work on heals.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because it's an auto attack. Everyone has auto attacks.
yeah, but for the most part, the Mistweavers aren't going to be up there smacking things.
But I think I remember seeing something tweeted about eminence from attacks, but is that only in fistweaving stems?
Yes,
Only in
Eminence.
Crane.
Eminence only goes
That's
in
no
Fistweaving.
longer mistweaving.
Now, if I recall correctly, Celestalon indicated that your Eminence healing won't multi-strike, but your damage will multi-strike, which will Eminence for heals.
To avoid a bit of double dipping.
Right, because otherwise you can multi-strike the multi-strike, which is just getting
Exactly.
stupid.
A
So,
multi-strike loop.
right. So
like
not
it.
doing that.
And suddenly Exhibit appears.
So one talent has been nerfed, and this one really baffles me. The talent that only Brewmasters take right now, Ascension, nerfed. Down from 15% mana to 10% mana, and energy regen from 15 to 10. I'm very surprised by this, because right now, I think it's going to be a little bit more powerful for Windwalkers in the first tier than it is now because of all the changes they're making in devaluing haste. I think that Ascension would actually be a little bit more powerful, but I think Chi Brew is still going to be preferable, so I'm surprised they nerfed this.
You know, I think this goes along with the change we've talked about with Jab as well, too, with in so much energy, so much readiness, that I believe Celestalon tweeted at some point that we're monks are having to worry about being GCD capped. We're one of the only melee classes that we're having to push buttons so fast we don't have enough buttons to push with all the Gs. We have too many buttons to push given the GCD limit with super high amounts of haste. So add in all the readiness, add in the later expansion haste. We might be a little bit slow to start, but I mean, this might be one of the things they have to do to keep the same problem we're having now with, hey, some of us are able to run 13,000, 14. If you're Roton, you're running 15,000 haste. And it's every second you literally have something to push, which is a lot of fun. But holy carpal tunnel syndrome that meant. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're just looking out for our health personally.
Right. I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I played In Wrath, I played a Death Knight, and they said the same thing about Death Knights back then, that we were basically GCD locked in melee. Because every single GCD you miss is a big detriment to your output. And monks are kind of in the same place now, so they want to make it a little bit more forgiving, where if you miss a GCD, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, they're making Windwalkers, and we'll come back to this because we haven't gone over the Windwalker
it's like related,
changes
but
yet.
we want to, yeah.
You're right.
All kinds of things.
Let's go over some further Mistweaver changes. Life Cocoon, cheaper. Renewing Mist, cheaper. Revival, cheaper. So that goes on with...
Note, not better.
Right.
Just cheaper.
Cheaper.
We don't know yet. Hey, they could fix it. They could make it better.
So Stance of the Wise Serpent, while you're in that stance, Crackling Jade Lightning... Oh, right, we already went over that. Refunds 2% of maximum mana. Eminence for your Fistweavers now causes a nearby target to be healed for 35% of all damage caused by the monk, and it includes auto attacks now.
So we have a nice buff to Eminence. It's up from 25% to 35%.
And even better...
Suck it, this priest.
Yeah. So even better, when you're in Fistweaving stance now, they've combined all of these different passives they had into one. So Muscle Memory, Serpent Zeal, and Vital Miss have all been replaced with a new passive ability called Crane Style Techniques. So this will enhance several of your combat abilities, including Crackling Jade Lightning will channel 150% faster, which is still, and that's over the 4 seconds, because it's already been shortened to 4 seconds. Now it'll go even faster. So that has to be this, what, 1.5
That basically
seconds?
makes it a that basically makes it a GCD.
Yeah. It'll generate 1 chi each time it deals damage, and will cost 300% more mana. So this is going to be your flash heal, because it's going to do a ton of damage right up front. It'll give you a chi and do Eminence Healing. Blackout Kick grants Crane's Zeal, increasing critical strike chance by 20%. And also will cause Eminence to heal 5 allies instead of 1. But will heal for 15% of damage dealt instead of 35, so you get to spread the heals out.
Yeah, what that essentially works out to is you're getting about almost double the Eminence healing, but to 5 people.
Right. Now, one thing I'm not sure about is that a... Because I know Blackout Kick does a dot. Is that while that's active, or is it just a Blackout Kick damage eminences to 5 people?
It's the actual damage. When you hit with Blackout Kick, it'll take the normal Eminence damage you do, take 15% of that, and apply it to 5 targets.
Okay. All right, so it's just the Blackout Kick that will do the AoE.
It's just doing Blackout Kick, which means now, the current fist weaving rotation is jab Tiger Palm. Now, in AoE heal situations where you're fist weaving, it's jab Blackout Kick.
Okay, an AoE heal. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That gives it a little bit more, because right now Blackout Kick for fist weaving is just used for Zeal. That's it.
Yeah, you use it once every 30 seconds and then you're done.
Okay, so this gives you a little bit better choice. Now, here is a big change, and I underlined this one in the show notes for a reason. Monk will gain a stack of Vital Miss for every chi consumed.
And this is why the current rotation is jab Tiger Palm, because it's the only way for you to gain Vital Mist.
Right.
Now, if you're gaining a stack every time you use chi, that means every 5 chi you cast, you have a free Surging Mist.
Right. So Surging Mist is going to be going out a lot with Fistweaver, because Blackout Kick will still take 2 chi, right?
Viable.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go out at about the same rate. Now what it's doing is that it's making sure that doing Blackout Kick isn't an output loss for your healing.
Right. And all right, and Rising Sun Kick
change.
Confirmed for Fistweavers. Rising Sun Kick. Now, only Windwalkers are going to have the Mortal Wounds debuff, but Rising Sun Kick does still apply the they will take extra damage from your abilities debuff. Yes. So that will be really, really nice, and will probably, I would assume, still cost 2 chi, so we'll gain 2 stacks of Vital Mist for you. So
exactly. So odds are it's not going to be an on cooldown ability, but it's going to be something that casting Rising Sun Kick when you've got 2 chi will allow your damage to continue going for 15 seconds, and you get 2 stacks of Vital Mist.
I would still assume it will be an on cooldown if possible ability. What was that, LeBlue?
I said, and you will do backflips because monks.
Yes.
Because awesome.
Because Rising Sun Kick
like
makes you do backflips.
Right.
So, there you go, Mistweavers. Everything you ever wanted.
Right. Yeah. So.
I think on single target, you're probably going to be doing Rising Sun Kick a lot. I think when it comes to AoE, you're going to be doing a lot more Blackout Kicks.
Right, but you're going to want to
Maybe
make
it'll
sure that
replace
you keep
blackout
that buff up.
kick
the whole
and single
time.
target. That's what I'm thinking, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see what ends up happening, but yeah, it's probably just your single target Blackout Kick.
Yeah. Now, Chi Explosion,
without the crit strike chance boost.
Did they didn't say anything about Chi Explosion doing the same thing, though, with the 2 Chi spreading out for AoE heals. So that might make it an interesting choice, because Chi Explosion will replace Blackout Kick.
It will.
So I think for single target fights, you would go Chi Explosion. For AoE, you would stick with Blackout Kick. We'll have to see.
We'll know.
Yeah, we'll have to see on that one. All right, let's move
testing.
to Windwalker. So we've been praising Celestalon and cheering in the streets and having celebrations and drinking wildly our Tiger Eye brew.
I believe 3 temples have been built in his honor.
Yes, and we are burning those temples down now. Combo Breaker.
Maybe one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll burn down 1. We'll keep 2. Combo Breaker has been nerfed. 8% proc chance down from 12%. Jab now costs 10 more energy now. And so this seems to be a slowdown of the rotation. And as Eris said, this was due to... Celestion has said this is due to GCD cap. We want to get away from that. And another change will... Now, let's talk about that first, and we'll go with that final...
Yeah.
We'll talk about the final change. So, what are your thoughts on this one, Air?
It's, well, 2 jabs, and you're out of energy, minus the... Was it to gain 14 energy every second?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, you get 14 energy after 28 energy after 2 jabs. I mean...
How much energy is it right now?
Is it 40 energy.
40 energy.
Jab.
Okay, so you only... Okay.
Like, I'm looking at my tooltip. Yeah, 40 energy. But no, it slows us down a lot. I mean, with that, we're generating a lot less chi overall too.
They haven't said anything about expel harm though. Is that still 40?
Nothing's been said yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's meant to be our. It's used for chi generation. I mean, if that's going to be more important, but. I mean, that does nothing for DPS.
Right.
I mean, jab doesn't do a ton either, but it's an important part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're being slowed down, and if you look at us right now, especially at the the really high levels, I run 13,000 haste right now for fun. And it gets a little bit more because I'm running with normal Thox as well too, so that amplifies that. I'm hitting a button all the time. It's great. It's great fun. But if it gets any higher, it's what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
If we're able to run such a high amount of haste that it kind of negates other play styles, it makes so we don't have to use Fist of Fury as much, which is something that they kind of want us doing. It'll feel really, really bad in the beginning of the expansion if they keep it like that. We're going to be slow. We're going to have a much more, zen. No, we're going to be just a slower rotation. Right now, if you get into the zone, you feel very zen. You're hitting a button all the time.
It's going to force us to use Fist of Fury, and it's going to force us to use Energizing Brew. And that's one thing that they've been targeting a lot, is to force us into that. And now this is even forcing it harder. Now, there's going to be benefits now because they've added Multi-Strike to Energizing Brew. So using that on cooldown is going to be mandatory not only for energy regen, but also for a Multi-Strike chance. So they're making it a throughput cooldown that should be used on cooldown.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but they're trying to make it make more sense, at least.
Yeah.
This is making this slightly more sense. We're going to have to see how this turns out, because right now I don't have the trinkets to let me go that crazy haste build, but I like that playstyle. I like the very frenetic feel to it, but I've noticed on fights like Ordos in particular, my system slows down quite a bit. When we've got 40 people up there smacking away in all the fire pools and crap. And so I've noticed when it gets that way, I miss GCDs because my computer's lagging. And so having having that skill cap delta be different Like there's still going to be someone who's really good at stacking their cooldowns and hitting every GCD is still going to be above someone who doesn't, but it's not going to be as big of a gap. They're narrowing the margins, and I think that's okay.
Okay. I mean, I play with minimum of a 175 ping at all times. So I mean, if you have a slower system, that might be nice. Slow it down a bit, but you know, it's super early still. They're probably throwing in this to see how it works. You know, with all of the other things with Fist of Fury being used so much, with Spinning Crane Kick being a much shorter cast time, or with being a much shorter, you know, duration for the energy used. You know, other things coming off the GCD, we're changing a lot. We're changing a lot to the flow. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see once we're able to get on the beta to see what happens exactly with our rotation, with our speed. You know, do we still have that real frantic play style? I'm hoping so, because that's what I really enjoy. Yeah. You know, Blue, you play a little bit of Windwalker too. I mean, when you're not doing all this other crazy stuff. So, what do you think?
I think we lost the Blue.
I'm having a bit of lag issues. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
What are your thoughts on Windwalker?
I mean, the slowing down thing, like I never got the cool enough gear so I could be like super haste buildy and like I'm punching everything super fast. I see some of the things they're doing. You already got Christmas. You got everything you ever wanted. And now they're kind of like, okay, let's read up and kind of hold up a little bit, okay? So I don't know. I think it's good. I know the combo breaker proc chance going down is nice at the very least, because that was annoying sometimes, getting multiple procs energy capping.
It's so awful getting free hits.
It's terrible when it's all tiger palms and you're like, well, I just wasted this. I just threw this away. I just threw this away because I have too much energy regen. So I mean, the jab plus the combo breaker changes are pretty big in that respect.
All right. And in the most recent patch notes, we're going to move on to movement. So we know that we got a movement aura now. Anybody within 10 yards of us gets a 10% movement bonus. So they brought out some explanation. Right now, everything, all the movement speed buffs are stacking. So like 25% on top of a 25% does it exponentially versus additive right now. So they're changing that, making it a little less confusing. So now if it's a self or passive movement speed, then it's additive. All the self and passives will add together. So if you have a 50% and a 50%, you've got 100% instead of 50 plus 50 plus 25, blah, blah, blah. It's very confusing. But now if it is granted to you by a teammate or is temporary, it's called exclusive. It will add on your other ones, but only anything in that category, you'll only get the top one, the highest one. So something like, what's that one from Druids that does the Stampeding
Here's an easy
Roar?
one. If you use
Stampeding Roar, yeah.
Tiger's Lust and then you use Rocket Boots, your Rocket Boots will overwrite your Tiger's Lust, and your Tiger's Lust won't become active again, and so your Rocket's boosts fall off.
Right.
There's a monk example.
Because those are both temporary, and so
Correct.
the highest bonus of that will apply, not both.
Yes.
But your 10% will apply at all times, and then you'll add the 25 from the Tiger's Lust, so you'll have 35, and you'll go forward like that. Now
it'll stack with the boot enchants too. Keep
Right.
in mind that too.
Yeah, boot enchants are passive, so that will count as an additive. Now, one thing that I haven't got a full answer on yet, I think I know how it works, but now that our aura goes out to other players, how I read it is that 10% will always be active for us, but will be exclusive for everybody else around us.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works, but I haven't got a definitive answer to that.
I think
If we-
you're right, but that's
I
a
want to
weird
say
one.
it's a passive one. I think I think we basically have many aspect of the pack, but we'll probably see either you'll get an answer, which Probably, who knows on that one.
Or we'll have to test it.
Or Duke beats us all in the beta because, oh, I'm special, I went to PAX, and he'll tell us. And if he doesn't tell us, we'll probably burn down something. We'll burn down a shrine to Celestial. There we go. Fixed.
Yep. All right, and it looks like we had a patch that came in onto the wire. Another nerf
Breaking
to
news,
us.
folks.
Hurricane strike damage nerfed by 50%.
Freak out now. This is when you freak out. Go.
I liked Hurricane Strike. Maybe I'll still like it. I haven't
We
had a
don't
chance
know
to
what
use
the
it yet.
damage was before. How will we know what 50% feels like?
Right.
Oh, no.
Oh no!
It actually did 2 damage,
all
now
those-
it does 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh man. Yeah, we'll have to see how that is. I still think it's gonna look cool. It'll be the style,
Hopefully it does.
talent.
Basically, you're just going to Chun-Li up the joint.
Right. Except no, it's like more like the 7-sided strike thing. You're just gonna zip back and forth. It's gonna be more like Liu Kang, I think. Like
Oh, people play monks in Diablo? I didn't know that.
Shut up.
Yeah, it's all about the Crusader, isn't it?
Shut up. Monks are awesome. All right, let's move on to Brewmaster. All right, so not too many changes to the Brewmaster, but there have been some. There was a slight nerf to the base attack power gained by Mastery. So one of the changes they've made to supplement the damage loss from Vengeance is that each tanking spec's Mastery will gain attack power and will increase attack power based on your Mastery as well as the other bonus it gives. Now, they've nerfed it. It used to be 12% when they first came out with it. Now it's down to 8%, so they've cut that across the board. So tanks are going to do slightly less damage than they did earlier in the alpha. And they've made a change now to Gift of the Ox. So remind me, Kagrai, what does Gift of the Ox proc off of now? Is it crit?
Okay, so what they're doing right now is currently procs off of auto attack crits.
Auto attack crits. Okay.
So you need to. That's one of the big reasons that expertise is so big for us. Other than obviously Keg Smash, is our auto attacks need to hit so we can get Gift of the Ox proc orbs. Previously, before this change, multi-strike actually had no defensive value, and if you say, "Oh, Ox shields," shut up. That's not for you. Nobody cares about the rest of the raid. You're not a disc priest. But multi-strike previously had no tank gimmick at all for us, and what they're trying to do for all the stats is to make sure they're valuable to us as tanks. And this is actually a really neat way of making multi-strike valuable, in that it aids in our self-healing a little bit. And I like Gift of the Ox because it's like a little skill cap thing. So I'm cool with this. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so now, it's multi-strike. Let's see. 100% chance to trigger while using a two-handed weapon and 62.5% chance to trigger off while dual wielding. So again, this is taking us to multi-strike class. It's another thing. It's like every single spec now will benefit off a multi-strike.
Heard you like multi-strike, so here's some multi-strike for while you multi-strike, so you can multi-strike.
Yes, exactly. So lots of multi-strike.
Exhibit shows up again. That dude's everywhere.
Yep. All right, well, I think that's it for changes right now, but keep your ears to whatever because there's a lot more coming. We're in patch season right now, so tune in next time
breaking
for
news
more.
Like halfway through Thok. We're gonna get more breaking news.
Right,
like,
probably
go
will.
back.
Yeah.
And then our whole flow's gonna be messed up, and we're gonna do Thok all over again.
Yep.
Strap in.
Yep, double Thok time. Well, let's start off with the first part. It's time to impart some tips and tricks for those raiding monks now in... I haven't used this sounder in a while. Where the heck is it? There it is.
Fist of Fury. It's go time.
All right, having fought our way into the inner sanctum of Orgrimmar and destroyed the cache of weapons, we come now upon a final treasure from Pandaria. A giant dinosaur. We take on now Thok, the Bloodthirsty.
Thok.
All right, gonna move on to Kagrai first. LeBlue, let us know. How do Brewmasters handle this?
Okay, so I've always solo tanked this fight. You can two tank it, obviously, but that's really boring, and we like doing fun stuff and showing how fair and balanced monks are. So first thing, glyphs. Two I recommend. One is Enduring Healing Spheres, and 2 is Fortuitous Healing Spheres. Your third glyph, take what you want, honestly. I mean, there's not too much choice there. It doesn't matter. Just don't take Litha Guard. That's bad news bears. But like I put Zen Med because reasons. Enduring Healing Spheres lets you have nice piles of orbs next to you. And Fortuitous Healing Spheres, when you get lower, you get a free Healing Sphere. So far as talents, 15, Tiger's Lust, help out the kiters. Chi Wave, make a macro so that it hits you first and then goes to Thok. That way you get the heal from it always, because how massive his hitbox is. Ascension, obviously. Leg Sweep, if you're doing Heroic for the bats, you'll want that stun. And then if you don't do Heroic, if you're not doing Heroic and doing normal, you might want to look into Ring of Peace just so you can disarm the Jailer for a bit longer. For your 75 talents, you have two choices, and this kind of depends on which route you want to go on. The one I personally take is Dampen Harm, and this lets me mitigate 3 swings or hits from Thok as when he gets in the later stages of whatever phase you're in. So when he gets like the 5th panic, I'll usually pop it, and it just lowers 3 swings, makes it a little less spiky, whatnot. The other option is Healing Elixirs, and this is just more of a self-healing boost, and I promise you'll get a lot of healing out of this. And then finally, we want to use Xuen for obvious reasons. Single target fight, does a lot of damage. If you hold phase 1 for long enough in Heroic, when the bats come out, he's back up again and does all the cleave damage, and he'll even take a bat or 2 off of you so you're not getting completely punched in the face. So really useful, and at high vengeance, he does a crap ton of damage. So far as clever monk mechanics, though, because that's what we really want to hear, so solo tanking it. Big thing to note, our stagger. It's going to go high. Don't panic. Keep shuffle up. Shuffle is greater than purifying, because if your shuffle falls off, you're just going to get punched in the face when you get to 5 or 6 stacks of panic. Make sure you use and abuse your Gift of the Ox Orbs. Incredibly important. When you get to about 4 stacks of panic, those things are close to lay on hands, especially if they crit on you. So you need to make sure that you're using them to keep yourself healed. I yell at my healers if I see a direct heal on me. If it is more than a Pally Beacon heal, I'm screaming at them. You can pretty much keep yourself up entirely on those alone, and with smart use of guard to save yourself, and you'll be getting like 1.5 million guards. It's fantastic. Avert Harm is good for mitigating the breaths in the other phases, because you're not anywhere near the rest of your raid, so you can actually use that to mitigate the poison, the fire, and the frost breaths. Keep that in mind. And then for the jailers generally enrage about a few seconds after the second blood frenzy, so it's when he's getting a speed boost. When you see that, disarm him. Then he'll start hitting you really hard and fast. This is incredibly important after the first phase if you've been tanking him for a while, because you'll have anywhere from 7 to 8 stacks of panic. And if he's frenzied and he has his weapon, you're probably going to get gibbed. Like, he will one-shot you, no ifs, ands, or buts. So you need to be quick on this. But that's really it for Brewmasters.
All right, and Air, let's go over Windwalker.
Windwalkers. Hey, it's not really our best fight with some of the mechanics, but it is a lot of fun. You know, we're melee. We don't have to worry about the screech or the deafening screech to interrupt anything, like some casters. So yeah, I mean, it can be a lot of fun. So let's see, what do we got here? Using we call it clever use of monk mechanics. So defensive cooldowns. You know, Chai, you mentioned maybe using diffuse magic in this for phase 2.
Yes, it depends on your makeup. In 10-man in particular, especially if you're 2 healing it, if during phase 2, well, when you have the blood, what is it called, the green jailer blood thing, it's a magic thing. If your healer gets chased down the room, you could die from that magic thing. So most of the time,
not ideal. Yeah.
Yes, most of the time I would recommend using Avert or Dampen Harm. That's going to be the best, because you can really soak 2 or 3 of those big hits from the first phase. However, especially if you're 2 healing in a 10-man, I would look into diffuse magic if you're doing well in phase 1 but have problems in phase 2.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. You know, like you said, with Dampen Harm, you can take, hopefully time it right where you could take 3 of those deafening roars, which becomes a big problem at the later stage, at the higher stacks, especially in heroic. With a lot of incoming damage, anything you can do to help like that. You want to make sure you're using your Fortifying Brew to help out to get a long duration on that. Touch of Karma is great for about 2 screeches, depending on how you pair it up. The thing with Zen Med is that the deafening screech, or the roar is physical damage.
And
right?
that's fine, because the self buff, or the self cooldown, is all damage. It reduces all damage to 90%. Now, the bad side of that is you don't get to do any DPS during that time.
Yeah, and you only get 1 hit before you're knocked out of it.
It's not melee, though.
I always get knocked out of it, though.
It silences you. You'll actually get locked out of nature spells for 4
that's right.
seconds.
That's what it is.
Okay.
So
It's been a long time since I tried that now.
That's true. So you may not want to use it unless you have a bunch of paladins doing Diva Aura. Then you could do it. But that's just put in there as a, oh crap, we really need to stay in phase 1 right now. Just keep that in the back of your mind. You can use it, but yes, you will get knocked out of that unless Diva Aura's up.
Like Blue was saying with the Jailer, grapple weapon is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually chain that grapple weapon together. Help out your tank. If you have a monk tank, great. If you don't have a monk tank, help him out by disarming the Jailer when he starts enraging. As soon as you transition out of the fun phase, the sit there and just nail boss phase, pop out a clone onto Thok, and you yourself can go on a Jailer. You're splitting your damage. It's good because you really, a lot of your range is probably trying to already hit Thok, especially if you're not having trouble getting the Jailer down. Work on that. Now, you can only do this, though, for the first few fixates, or else Thok starts running way too fast for your guy to keep up. And you want to make sure that if you're doing this, if you like working Fist of Fury into your rotation, try to time it. Hopefully everything works out, but try to time it where that it's during the fixate change that you're getting Fist of Fury off, because Thok is not moving at that point.
Yeah.
So another thing I like to do is I just pop Transcendence for a quick getaway, put it near the hallway in case you're stuck on the other side of him for whatever reason, and it can save you a bit of time, especially when he starts getting really, really fast.
Right.
So that's about it for just using our regular spell toolkit there.
Okay. So for talents, some big things to look forward to is Tiger's Lust. You can use this to help you or our less mobile teammates get away from Thok. So if you're
help.
Yeah. So if you're quick and you notice that let's see, which class really sucks at movement?
DKs.
Yeah, DKs. Yeah, you see your DK get hit, you're like, okay, bye, and they take
Paladins.
off. Yeah. Let's see, Dampen Harm, like you said, you can choose between Dampen Harm, Diffuse Magic, like we already discussed. It really depends on your team makeup as well as what you're having problems with. I know that our team tends to get killed by that blood a lot, so I tend to actually go Diffuse Magic for that. And as LeBlue said, Jwen, obvious choice here. No AoE in this fight, so go with Jwen and kick some butt.
If you're having trouble with the bats on heroic, the Russian Javelin's a good way to help. I mean, this is if you're really lacking a lot of AoE classes. Otherwise, yeah, make sure you're in particular for heroic, those bats coming down, pop out your clones, spin to win, get them down fast, and that can definitely help out. And like I said, if you're having trouble with them, if there's just not enough AoE being put up by everyone, think about your composition, think about what you can do to help. If you have to do Russian Jade win, hopefully, that will still be okay. But, it's usually considered scumbag when walking, which is sad, because we like high numbers, so.
At the start, and you guys, if you extend phase 1 as long as possible, and then the chase phase, Xuen should be up for the bats. You just have to make sure you target him to the bats, or else he'll decide that the dinosaur is tastier. And
that's a really good point too. Yeah, that's a really good point.
That's something for AOE for Windwalkers, so you don't lose all that single target damage.
Yeah, that crackling tiger lightning is pretty nice, especially as a brewmaster, because that's a bit ridiculous with the vengeance scaling in there.
May or may not have 500k plus vengeance. May or may not.
Yeah. When we did that fight, we had our Karn our brewmaster single tanking that, and it was ridiculous the numbers he was putting out with everything. So it's a lot of fun. If you're a brewmaster, single tank that for fun. It is a blast. It'll make you sweat.
Okay, Eric, can you fix your mic really quick for us? It's rubbing quite a bit. There you go.
How's that?
That's much
All
better.
right. Apologies, everyone.
All right, want to go over the glyphs there?
Glyphs, yeah. The only one that some people will likely change out is Glyph of Rapid Rolling. Just helps you get away from Thok if you chase at a high speed. This works really well with if you're not taking Tiger's Lust. If you're taking, is it the 3 charges
Celerity.
of roll?
Yeah.
Yeah, taking Celerity. So that works out really well together. Other glyphs, I will sometimes glyph Energizing Brew, because I typically will not always use. I'll use Touch of Karma and overlap them a little bit with Fortifying Brew. But if you glyph Fortifying Brew, it can reduce damage taken a little bit more. You just don't get the same health benefit. So just a matter of where you need it. You know, if you're less damage taken for a longer time versus helping out Touch of Karma for a very short amount of time. Just think about that. Otherwise, nothing too different as far as glyphs go for this one.
Alrighty. Okay, and Duke, let's go ahead and go to you for Mistweaver.
Thok is a fun fight. It really is, especially for Mistweavers, because it's the one fight that you can always Mistweave. Why? Because your goal in Phase 1 is to make sure everyone is up around you, and Eminence is probably the cheapest AoE healing you can do. Make sure you have Rushing Jade when talented, and use that every single time he roars, and it'll bring people up while you're doing your Eminence healing. And you're doing a ton of damage to him in Phase 1, which is great, because that's usually the phases where you're going to be doing the least amount of damage, unless you can drag out the stacks to, 20 or 30 if you can. Or if you're at a all-monk flex raid to 97, I think was the number we finally kept out on.
Yeah,
Zen Meditation. That was the best. Zen Meditation is one of those abilities that gets a lot of misuse, but here it's a good one, mainly because of Frenzy. You're trying to stave off Frenzy as much as possible, so the less of an issue you are, and the more healing you can put out, or the more healing your team can put out, the better off Zen Meditation is going to be for you. Otherwise, what you want to do is use Dampen Harm to make sure that that big burst that he does from yelling doesn't affect you, and you can focus on the people around you. If everyone had that kind of nice cooldown, especially at those critical heal points where, the paladins and the shaman don't have anything they can do because they're being interrupted, you're going to be fine. The third phase is really easy if everyone just stands in the fire and you heal them through it. The more movement you have to do in that third phase as Fistweaver, or even as a strict Mistweaver, the less effective your heals are going to be. And you're going to do practically 0 damage because you're going to be chasing a dinosaur down the hall. Mm-hmm. Phase 2 is going to be fairly simple. If Thok happens to be walking right by you, just Crackling Jade Lightning as he walks on by, and when he's out of range, focus on the tank that's hitting the jailer. And that's pretty much it. Your Phase 2 is going to be really boring. So what you're really concerned about is Phase 1 and getting your output out as much as possible. This is why, even though all of the other talents, taking Tiger's Lust, you're still going to take Chi Brew because there's nothing else. Even for Phase 1, Chi Burst is a really nice option because you can just stand a little behind your team and do some damage as well as hit everyone in a column in front of you. You're going to want Rushing Jade Wind instead of Zwen. Now, Zwen is great if it's on farm and you just want to bump your numbers up as high as possible, because that's fun too. But Rushing Jade Wind is going to be the talent you want to take, just because
AoE
you're going to be sitting there, you're going to use it practically on cooldown, it's going to be spitting out its healing, and at the same time, you're doing your punching magic.
Alrighty. I understand you have a 3-step plan for defeating Thok?
Yes, there is a simple 3-step plan. The first one is that you have to get that door opened. Otherwise, you can't get in the room. If you can't get in the room, you can't even face the dinosaur. And I think I just blew the joke. Good night, folks.
Wow.
Good job, Daikatsu. Blame Daikatsu, everyone.
Wow.
There you go.
Yep. What's step 2?
Step 2 is you need to be on the floor, 2 feet on the ground at all times.
Yes.
And then the third one is you got to do that dinosaur.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? How else are you going to get loot?
Yep.
Jurassic Park.
No, I remember the reason why I remember that song is because of the Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Me too.
That's why everyone knows that song.
That's literally the only reason people our age know the song, because we went to the Mario Brother movie thinking it was going to be a cinematic masterpiece.
Nope.
And about
we got
half of
that.
us were convinced it was because they were 6, and the other half weren't because they were 7.
I was in the 6th crowd. I thought it was the most amazing thing ever when I was young. I'm like, it's Mario!
Yeah.
Oh!
I watched
I
that
never got over
VHS
the
like
whole-
nuts.
Oh, man.
messing up Yoshi a bit. You know,
Yeah.
which is wrong.
Yoshi hurt me.
If-
Yeah.
But if you want a true tip on Thok, Jurassic Park theme. All I'm
Yes.
saying.
That works. That
Will
works.
increase your damage by 30%. Absolutely
True.
guaranteed.
Proven.
Yep.
One of the things, if you guys haven't done this yet, get into a flex group and do the achievement for this. The meta.
Oh, Gary the Gastropod comes back.
The giant, was it dinosaur versus mega snail?
Yeah.
The only difference is instead of opening up your jailer right away, you go and open up the snail's cage, which is on the left-hand side of the room as you are coming into the fight. Open that key, another jailer comes out to open the proper one, so don't worry about anything like that. It just takes a little bit extra time. It's a lot of fun to do, and make sure that you are kind of kiting the gastropod, because once he comes out of that cage, he's chasing you down. And if you remember throwing a thunder, you get in front of him, he will one-shot you. So you
This
have
sounds
to
like a
kinda-
really bad sci-fi of the week movie.
It's you kill Thok, and you
Dinosaur versus
the snail will, as soon as he dies, snail turns, runs towards him, and it's the most satisfying thing you will ever see in this game. We iron deficiency. We did do one last run this week, and we did all the meta for the achievement to get our mount for this, and it was nice having one person left alive, a heroically rated gear team on flex, one person left alive, kiting, killing Thok, and then with maybe half of their health left, getting that snail to finish off Thok. So one of the most
Slackers.
rewarding things I've ever done in game.
Slackers.
Or there was the Immersius, Enraging Immersius, and for that achievement with a heroically geared team, and watching everyone get one shot for 2 million plus melees. That was good times.
I'm not going to say what his puddle looks like when he enrages.
It's,
Let me
very
finish
angry
off the Mistweaver. Let me finish off the Mistweaver talk, because we needed to talk glyphs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
there's one glyph that is really important for this fight, and that's Enduring Healing Spheres. Because those little green rabbit pellets are going to be spread far and sundry, and the longer they stay up, the easier it is for some people to run it over and get healing.
Yeah.
That's a nice
Okay.
glyph to have for a lot of fights, I think, personally. Even as
It's
a Windwalker,
pretty much
it's
my
nice to put up.
standard. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
much my standard. That one, Renewing Mist and Surging Mist, are pretty much the glyphs that get me through every encounter.
All right, well, students, it's time now to meditate and expand our knowledge in
Transcendence.
All right, continuing our series of topics for new boosted monks. Today, we're going to go over common misconceptions, common errors made, or class tips that aren't readily apparent. So these little tricks that are going to get you higher in the meters and get you picked up by a raid team. So let's start off with Windwalker. We have quite a few here. Let's start off the first one. Spinning crane kick. I see this all the time, especially at, level 46 when you get it the first time. If you're running a dungeon and there's like 3 monks in there, all you're seeing is spin cycle, because everyone's like,
Spinning
this
crane
thing's
kick.
awesome!
All the things!
Spend all the things! Yeah, don't use this unless there's 3+ targets. You're not going to get chi if it only hits 2, and it's a huge loss in DPS over your regular rotation. If there are over 3 targets, you can use that. But know that it generates chi, it does not spend chi. So don't chi cap and don't energy cap during it. So keep that in mind.
in regards to versus jabs, it does only generate 1 chi. So for 80 energy, you're getting a lot of AoE, but you're only getting you're getting the same amount of chi as 1 jab for 40 energy.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too.
And I usually say to go at it when there are 4 plus targets, because 3 targets is still going to be beneficial to hit Fist of Fury over Spinning Crane Kick. Once you get to 4 plus, then the split in damage makes Fist of Fury less viable, so you'll want to go Spinning Crane Kick. So that's going to be one of the biggest tips to help you out, especially at lower levels, is know when to use Spinning Crane Kick. All right,
it also looks great if you're sitting in the shrine.
Yes. Just spin all the things in there. That's fine. All right, why don't you take Storm, Earth, and Fire, Air?
Storm, Earth, and Fire, one of my favorite talents in the game. So one of the things I see this happening, especially if you're sitting in a Timeless Isle with the boosted 90s, is, hey, I got this awesome ability. I can clone myself. I can do extra damage. It says so on the tooltip. So you see someone, going after that Death Adder, popping a clone, and fighting, and it's not dying very quickly. This Storm, Earth, and Fire is not a single target ability. It only works if you are hitting something different from your clone. Then you're doing the 120% damage, 130% damage.
Yep.
Yeah. So don't. Your clone will still auto attack, but it only copies your yellow hits, your abilities, if it's on a different target. So be careful with that. It just doesn't mirror everything. Your clones require their own separate Rising Sun Kick and Tiger's Palm buffs as well. So when you send it out, if it's a big distance, you have to think about that. Wait that second and a half, hit Tiger's Palm, hit Rising Sun Kick, then you are good to go. At the same time, it means it also doesn't benefit from your prior usage of Tiger's Eye Brew. So you want to pop Tiger's Eye Brew, add a 10 stack with trinkets, all the other stuff, after your clone gets there, after it's out as well. And to really make good use of this talent, there's a good add-on on Curse called Storm, Earth, and Fire that works.
Yeah,
and if you want a little bit more customization to fit with your UI, there's a great weak aura string out there that you can find very easily just by looking at that too. So, coming 6.0, I hear they might be adding an in-game UI element for this, a better way to track it, but we'll see come Warlords.
All right. Well, Shui? All right, mastering him is one tip that's really good. So he's awesome. He sends out this big old kitty, does ton of damage. It's awesome, but you can maximize him. So know that you have a pet bar that was added in a recent patch. So, well, not really recent at this point. It's been a while, but he has a pet bar, so you can actually force him to attack something else. So, like they mentioned before, like if you're attacking Thok, but you want him to attack the bats, you target the bats, hit the button, and he'll jump over there and attack them. It's kind of nice. If you're a Brewmaster, there's also a taunt button. Make sure you use that. He can taunt something off and take some heat off of you. So he will also update his damage with your trinkets, procs, heroism, etc. So if you have a 5-minute fight, use it on the pole and wait for the next big burn phase. So what's nice about him is, unlike the Storm, Earth, and Fire, if you hit Tiger Eyes Brew before you cast him, he will still benefit. He has the Warlords model of everything, where he mirrors what's going on right now, and he dynamically updates. Dynamically. Yes. All right. And why don't you go over Fist of Fury?
Fist of Fury, hey, it's still a lot of fun to use. I recommend, especially going into Warlords, get used to using it. But what it is that it's a relatively hard-hitting ability. It stuns your target. It's a series of stuns. So if you don't get the very first tick, it'll start stunning after that. It's great. It really depends on what the fight needs. Like a Galacrass, it'll stun everything. And I believe there's a lot of talk about, resetting swing timers and things like that. So you've got to be careful. But the one thing is that right now, Fist of Fury, it splits the damage among all of the targets. So if you have a priority target, it's really not that great to split the damage among 4 of the targets if you have one thing to kill in particular. So that Shaman, if you need to focus that Shaman down, don't use Fist of Fury. The stun is nice, you can get an interrupt that way, and I know that using the stun to interrupt is a good third interrupt that monks have in case of emergency. But using Fist of Fury to your best abilities is a bit difficult. Dopamine at Dopastatic, he brings us a tip. Make sure that you're not letting Rising Sun Kick or Tiger Palm drop off during the channel. And yes, this is a channel. You start your Fist of Fury. As soon as you move, it cancels it, so be careful with that. You don't want to... There's some more things to Fist of Fury to make it really worth using. You don't want to energy cap. You don't want to use it when you want to try to line it up with trinkets because it does snapshot trinkets as well, so try to time it for the end of a trinket proc. It does not snapshot Tiger's Eye Brew, so pop Tiger's Eye Brew, then use Fist of Fury. There's a lot of intricacies with using this, but it's really worth getting used to using a lot more, especially with farm, especially with Warlords coming, because it's been drastically reworked. And it should be a lot more fun to use, a lot easier to use, and be a much bigger benefit to monks in general.
All right, and Aaron, why don't you go ahead and cover roll, because this is kind of your baby.
I like roll. Yeah, roll. It's a fun thing. So, it's similar to. It's your get out of here fast button, your get around fast button. If you think about a blink, you kind of start one area, go to the next area. So. With roll, you have to be careful that when you roll, the time spent rolling, you're still counted as sitting in your original spot. So if you're on Garage and you roll out of the Iron Star, if you're still rolling and you're out of view, it's going to count you in the Iron Star area still. So you want to make sure that your roll has stopped before the bad gets to you. So you have to make sure you landed out of the bad before the bad hits you, or else the bad will be counting as bad things against you. Bad. You got that?
Lots of bad.
Right.
Bad all the things.
Lots of bad, yeah.
Yes.
Just time it right. It's a great way to get out of stuff. We might have to be careful later on with the movement speed buff getting out of range, but otherwise, use it, abuse it. It's why we are mobile and awesome.
Indeed. All right, so trinkets. There are a number of interesting trinkets in Siege of Orgrimmar, and they based a lot of the new abilities in Warlords off of these trinkets. So let's talk first about the Sigil of Rampage. This drops off of Spoils. This is the Cleave trinket. This one is absolutely horrible. Don't use it.
Run.
Leave it for someone else. Why it's bad for Windwalkers is because our clones don't trigger this effect or mirror it. So you would use Cleave for an AoE fight, like Galacrass or Spoils. However, Storm, Earth, and Fire and Spinning Crane Kick is going to do better damage than this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really absolutely useless trinket. Don't bother with it at all. Harems. Now this is one that's very highly sought after. This is the multi-strike trinket. Now for AoE fights, again, Storm, Earth, and Fire clones don't multi-strike.
Yeah,
so
not too fun.
For Cleave fights, this trinket loses effectiveness. Now, this is going to be corrected in Warlords. Your Storm, Earth, and Fire will multi-strike. But for right now, on AoE fight, try to switch out if you can. Now, Assurance of Consequence. This one has a lot of controversy around it. So I'm going to let Air handle this one because I know he's poo-pooed it before. So.
I know. I've come around. I've seen some light, as it were. I may have disparaged the Assurance of Consequence a little bit in the past. I'm sorry, little trinket. I hope I did not hurt your feelings. It requires changing your playstyle. It requires using Energizing Brew, and it requires really mastering Fist of Fury usage to get the most out of this. So it theoretically is our best trinket. It's reducing a lot of cooldowns. It's fantastic, but it's the way the fights are. Without thinking really far ahead, without predicting where bosses will be, where what you'll be doing in maybe 3-4 seconds from now, it can be difficult to use, and thus for an absolute DPS loss. But it's going to be fantastic come 6.0 with the readiness. It's probably going to become our best in slot trinket in the first patch until the first rating tier start. And what's really nice is it's 20, or on the heroic level, it's 20,000 agility for 20 seconds, I think it is. Mm-hmm. It's a long proc. It's a ton of agility. It's fantastic. So get one. On farm night, practice with it. Harums is still considered like the best to go with right now. Even on the big fights, on a fight like Galacrus, you're still going to do 3-4 million damage based off single target multi-strike, which is nice.
Right.
And that's just free damage. You're like, hey, damage, go, have some more. It's nice. And that being an RPPM trinket is real nice because you can have it proc multiple times very quickly, which is nice. AOC is on an internal cooldown, so if you can track that, using Weak Auras, using Raven, some other thing to track the ICD, you can help time when you're going to get that boost of agility for certain things too. And I believe it's called Determination is the name of the spell name too. You can look it up at Wowhead. So, but is it Determination? Or is it the? Sure. No, it's not Determination. That's the Foxtail tip one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you can look it up on Wowhead and catch it.
Yeah, so it's fun. It's play around with it. It is a good trinket.
Yeah.
You just have to really
get used to it.
Get used to it to use it effectively.
All right.
So
here's a tip about Flying Serpent Kick. This is Windwalker's signature ability. You go zooming across the place. Now, there are macros you can build that will turn on click to move. And I know that's really weird. Who does click to move? This isn't Diablo. What the heck? However, if you have click to move active while you are flying through the air, you can click somewhere else and change midstream and go another direction. You can also do this with roll.
What?
Yeah. So you can be flying one way and change and go this way.
Okay, can you macro the click to move? Somehow,
yes.
For a quick...
In your macro, you can build a script that will add click to move when it starts, and then when you click it again, it turns off.
For those watching, the look on Air's face right now is priceless.
Incoming hotfix. I gotta find a way to abuse that somehow. That's fantastic.
Oh, so many delightful possibilities.
Yes. All right. Weak auras. So at Brotund on Twitter, he suggests getting a weak aura. Tell me when to track your chi and brew tea stacks. This is really, really useful. So I use this all the time. I've got one that tracks when my Tiger Eye brew is getting to 10 stacks. It will light up when it hits 10, and then if it gets up to 18, it will start shaking, saying "Use me, use me. You're about to cap." And then when I use it, it will go dark, and so I know I shouldn't click it again, because you can do that while you're drinking Tiger Eye brew. If you hit it again, you'll use the rest of your stacks and overwrite the existing one. So you really don't want to do that. So yeah, track your Tiger Eye brew and know when to use it. So another tip that came out, and I know Air disagrees with this, is make sure to use your brew early and often. Don't let them cap. So the first sentence, I think Air has some qualms about. The second sentence, I think he agrees with. Don't get to 20 stacks of Tiger Eye brew.
Yeah.
But don't use them right when you hit 10. The most important thing is that the Windwalker spec is built on exponential power. Building when your trinkets hit, that's when you want to use Tiger Eye brew, because you get a boost in damage, and then your Tiger Eye brew will boost that damage by a percentage, so you get a boost on the boost. So that is one of the most important aspects of the Windwalker to master, is knowing when to use your cooldowns, when to use your Tiger Eye brew. So multiply that damage. So Chi brew is great for filling in gaps and you should only be burning those 2 charges of Chi Brew right at the very beginning. Don't use them on cooldown unless you're running really low in Tiger Eye Brew. You always want to try to have 7 to 8 stacks at any given time above there, so that way when your trinket proc happens, you'll hopefully be at 10 and you can hit that right away. So that's one of the most important aspects to master. And let Air take Touch of Karma.
Yeah, one thing I'll add for the Tiger's Eye Brew, a really nice thing to do, and I'm completely stealing this from Rotund, at Rotund on Twitter, and he gave me this idea, but create a small macro with slash, cast grapple weapon, and cast Tiger's Eye Brew. So that way, if you have an enemy that you can receive that 5% damage boost from, it'll always be up for your Tiger's Eye Brew. Or, you'll use it at the most advantageous time, which is when you get that, hopefully, 60% extra damage. Because that's what we're all about. Remember TOT, Genrock, standing in the puddle, and let's say we get a Rune proc, and we get other Trinkets proc, and you just watch yourself go up, and no one can touch you on that fight, because we are a multiplicative class. It's fantastic, it's great, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, make sure you're saving it for those procs and stuff. Touch of Karma, though. Brotund. Use it offensively and defensively. Touch of Karma is great for if you're on Siegecrafter belts, and you can pop Diffuse Magic and Touch of Karma. The way it works is that it I don't know if it's a bug, but it'll suddenly do 3 million damage on Heroic to your weapon, which is 1/3 of its health. It's awesome. It's great. It's something that can be abused. But if you're standing, pay attention to how much damage you're taking. Stand in the fire. Get a little bit extra DPS if you want for here and there. It's nice. But keep it. Use it early. Use it often. If you know you have incoming damage. If you have the fire lines on Paragons, use it then. How about your healers? If you Thok, Deafening Screech, use it then. Anytime there's massive amounts of damage going out, have it ready to go. It's really nice. And let's see, Chai, you always like to use Touch of Karma with Fortifying Brew because it, that big health increase is a 20% extra health.
Yep, and that means 20% extra DPS.
Exactly. That's that's more damage you can absorb, which means more damage on the boss, which hopefully will keep you alive a little bit longer too. And plus, since Touch of Karma is only 6 seconds. Yeah. Fortifying Brew is 15 seconds. That's still a good 11 seconds of time of, reduced damage incoming too, which is nice.
Yep. So speaking of defensive cooldowns, one thing to master with the Windwalker is knowing your cooldowns. Knowing all of these defensive things. The monks are unparalleled at staying alive. Fortifying Brew. Know how to use that. That, like I said, will boost your health pool up. Will also decrease damage that you take for a significant amount of time. It also turns you gray and bigger, which is cool. Touch of Karma. He discussed this. You can use that defensively. If something's coming in, as long as it's not going to more than one-shot you, actually more than double one-shot you, use it and you will live. Diffuse Magic or Dampen Harm, depending on which talent you take. Diffuse Magic will not only cure your magic, but will reduce magic damage into by, 90%, I think it is? It's ridiculous. And let's see. Zen Meditation. This is one that you can use. It will kill your DPS for 6 seconds, but will let you live. It reduces all damage taken to you for 90%. So you only take 10% of damage coming to you. And it will redirect 5 harmful spells from players to you. So it has some raid utility. It's fairly limited. So most boss spells don't count for some reason, but it's still know when to use these defensive cooldowns, and you can stay alive because a dead DPS does no DPS. And Tiger Eye Brew, at Jaden Snowdrift, he had some tips on this. Manage your stacks. Know that it goes up to 20, but you use 10 at a time. If you have the right trinkets, line it up with your trinket procs. So don't freak out when you get 10 and be like, oh, gotta use it. and keep them. We already touched on that a little bit, so we'll go ahead and move on. All right, LeBlue, let's talk about Brewmaster.
All right. I don't have a novel like Windwalkers. I'm not that cool. However, I do have a small short story of tips from some of the other brewmasters of the community. So first one comes from Zillion, and this is a big one that every brewmaster should know. Shuffle. Keep it up whenever you're actively tanking, and when you're not actively taking, you should be trying to build it up. Exception is like you kill it to ads too quickly in Galacrass, so you simply have nothing to hit. The biggest thing I have seen brewmasters make a mistake with, this is new brewmasters, this is veteran brewmasters, shuffle. Shuffle uptime is king. I actually just recently helped a 14 out of 14 heroic guild figure out why their brewmaster was getting punched in the face on Paragons. Turns out he was dropping shuffle. He went 15 straight seconds with no shuffle up when tanking Kalros toward the end, and he was just getting crushed, and they couldn't figure out why. And we figured that out, and everything has gone pretty well for them since then. Second tip is from Alavia. It's about your resources. New tanks often think they need to constantly be resource starved like a DPS, but you have to remember you're managing it. You're not a DPS, you're a tank, and our resources don't go into just damage. They go into making sure that our mitigation's up, and we have the chi for something like guard, or we have the energy for expel harm. And I kind of want to roll a little bit into my own personal tip that goes along with this, is you should always maintain between 40 and 70 energy at all times. This allows you to do two things. One is Keg Smash on cooldown, which is your biggest chi generator and should be hit on cooldown every single time. If you are looking for a way to improve your play, this is the quickest and easiest way to do it. You can actually probably look through your logs at any point if you run them, and you can kind of figure out, okay, how much time was I actually hitting the boss? Now, how many times could I have hit Keg Smash? How many times did I actually Keg Smash? You'd be surprised, and you'll probably find at least 4 or 5 that you could have theoretically gotten off. And there's always that bit for improvement. And then you also have to think, if you always have 40 energy and you drop below 35%, you can expel harm right on the dot. And a lot of times you're taking big hits, you got a lot of vengeance, and they'll pop you right up and give your healers time to catch you. This next one's also from Alavia. It's Breath of Fire. When raiding, don't use this ability. That's it. Don't. Just please.
Just no.
When you can, when you're leveling, or I guess it doesn't matter, but when you're leveling and you get where Blackout Kick gives you shuffle, just Breath of Fire. It's on your bar. It's off your bar. That's it. No place for most of us. Like, absolutely none. There's no place for it right now. It has like a couple fights where it's pseudo useful, but not really. So just don't worry about it, especially newer brewmasters. At Sunnier Brew, Purifying Brew, only use it when you're really getting wailed on by it. I'm talking like this is your maximum stagger is about 125 to 150% of your health. Because if you purify too early, you're using a lot of chi that could go towards Blackout Kick or guards. And if you start to kind of run out of chi, your shuffle kind of goes out, and then it just kind of creates this nasty, vicious cycle where you have no shuffle, and then you're really going to get hit hard. And then finally, once again, from at Sunnier Brew, on AoE pulls, don't go a spinning crane kick and breath of firing right out of the gate. Your dizzying haze and keg smash will be sufficient. So when you're opening a pull, keg smash, blackout kick, get a little bit of shuffle up, because if you just straight up spin to win, you will actually generate chi too slowly and can actually lose shuffle up time, and you can actually have too much energy. So just kind of keep that in mind. When you have a little bit more shuffle, spin crane kicks a bit better. And again, breath of fire. It's on your bars, it's off your bars. On your bars, off your bars. And that's it for Brewmasters.
All right, Duke, let's go ahead and move on to Mistweavers.
All right. Mistweavers have two problems. One, it's real. If you're coming from another healing class, it's kind of hard to get into it because it doesn't heal like any of the other classes. And two, right now we're kind of in this strange position where you're probably more valued for your DPS output over your healing output, which puts us in a really strange spot. But there's a few tips that I see all the time from Mistweavers, and the first one is, what do I do for weak auras? And the best option you could possibly get is Affinity's weak auras. Now, they're fantastic, but they might be a little bit of overload for you. The only mandatory one I would say you absolutely need is the Renewing Mist tracker, because that tells you how many Renewing Mists you have out there and how long you have on the oldest one. Everything else is tracking cooldowns and buffs and things that you might get, and unless you're really playing at the same level as Affinity, you probably don't need that much. If you don't like weak auras, there's always Tell Me When. I've actually managed to set up all the stuff that's in Affinity's weak auras in Tell Me When. Doesn't take a lot of time. And if you like Tell Me When and you need a Renewing Mist tracker, message me. I'll send you I'll send you the string. Now, Spirit is easily where most people get really, really confused. Because if you talk to Mistweavers out there, or you go and armory a bunch of Mistweavers, they're going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 Spirit or less. Mistweavers want to get rid of as much Spirit as possible. If you're just starting out, you really want to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 Spirit. The reason is because Spirit and Crit are the two sides of your regen coin. The more you have, the more crit you have, the less Spirit you'll need. So until your gear gets high enough where you're going up to 30 and 35% unbuffed crit, you're going to need a lot more Spirit than most other Mistweavers out there. As for haste, you definitely want to get to that first haste cap, 16.65%, or if you're in Tiger Stance, and you have a Shaman, Hunter, Boomkin, or a Shadow Priest in your raid, you want 3,145. How much haste you really need kind of depends on whether or not you're fist weaving. If you're fist weaving, that number is perfectly good. You don't need any more, because haste really only benefits Renewing Mist. And with Renewing Mist, you're not casting as much if you're fist weaving. But if you're going straight Mistweaver, go to Ask Mr. Robot. It's a fantastic resource, and you should really go out there, see what your possibilities are. The trick is you want your crit to be high enough to offset whatever you're losing in Spirit. And you don't need as much haste as people say you do. If you can get a haste breakpoint easily, do it. But the most important stat you're going to have is crit. Crit's the one that you want to gem, reforge, enchant it. Love it. It really determines everything. As much Spirit as you're going to need depends on crit. As hard as you're going to heal depends on crit. If you're going to fist weave, you want even more crit. Now, uplift. Renewing Mist by itself does absolutely nothing. All Renewing Mist is a delivery vector for uplift. And the trick with uplift is that you want Renewing Mist out on as many people as possible. Don't even bother casting Renewing Mist if you don't have... don't even bother casting uplift if you don't have Renewing Mist on at least 4 to 6 people. Keep track of it. Use the weak aura. Use the Tell Me When to find out. The trick to maximizing your output when it comes to uplift is Thunder Focus T. Thunder Focus T is usually mistimed. Where you want to use it is where you have about 2 seconds left on your oldest Renewing Mist. You want to hit your Thunder Focus T. You want to cast Uplift right away. And right after that, you want to cast Renewing Mist. This is going to really help you maximize how many people have Renewing Mist. Now, if you're in a 10-man raid, it's not that big a deal. 1 Thunder Focus T anytime during Renewing Mist is going to max out the amount of people that you're covering with Renewing Mist. If you're in a 25-man raid, really getting this timing down is the difference between Uplift hitting 12 people for a lot or 18 people for a lot, which is really possible once the timing, you've got it down to the fraction of a second. Now, let's talk about cooldowns. Monks really are the masters of survival, and the nice thing about being a Mistweaver is that all of your survival tools can be used for you or other people. The first one being Thunder Focus Tea. It's got 2 effects. Most people use the first one about renewing mist. The second one that buffs your surging mist is really nice, especially if you're fist weaving and you're casting that free surging mist. Tossing out a Thunder Focus Tea and then your free surging mist will really bring someone from the brink of death. Life Cocoon, or Hamster Ball as I like to call it, is a great spell that you can toss onto anyone. It's really fun to cast it on a tank who is trying to stand and poop for vengeance. That is the absolute greatest thing you could possibly do because you're taking all their vengeance away. They're not taking any damage. It's a great way to piss off people in LFR if they're trying to cheese meters. Chi Brew, you need to have this talent. Ascension and Power Strikes are absolute garbage for a Mistweaver. The only one that really matters on that bar is Chi Brew. The extra mana don't care because you'll get back extra mana every time you mana tea. The extra chi you won't ever really use because you shouldn't really be chi capping in the first place. So with Chi Brew, it can crit and give you extra stacks of mana tea, and that's the best thing, especially if your crit is high enough. So it's very possible that for one cast of Chi Brew, you'll get 4 mana tea stacks, which is equal to 16% of your mana. The other abilities that you have is the whole level 30 tier. It really depends on whether you're doing 10 man or 25 man. Chi Brew is a nice fire and forget. Chi Burst takes a little bit of knowledge on how to use it, but basically the idea is that everyone in front of you is going to get healed or damaged. Zen Sphere is interesting. There's applications of it that you can use in fist weaving, but generally it's going to be a healing loss, even though it can be a DPS gain in certain AoE fights. And the last question, and it's one that a lot of Mistweavers debate about, is which one is better, Rushing Jadewind or Chi Torpedo. It honestly depends on whether or not you're standing in one place or you need to move around like crazy. Now, the key thing. It's the one that everyone loves to ask. When do I fist weave and when do I mistweave? First question, are you bored? If you are bored, fist weave, because otherwise you're going to be falling asleep. Nobody's being hurt. It's not a challenge for you. Are you on farm? Fist weave. It's the most fun you could possibly have healing. Do you like boss butt? Because you're going to be in melee. A lot of people like being a Mistweaver and standing out by ranged and taunting them because all of the mechanics aren't targeting them. Best one is the Chain Lightning in the first boss of Thunder, Throne of Thunder. Everyone else is going to have to run away for a second except you because you're a monk. And the last one, how's your gear? The more crit you can stack, if you've gone really haste heavy, you need to back off of that and go crit heavy for effective fist weaving. Haste really is a DPS loss because you're not critting your hits and you're not critting your heals as a result. That's pretty much the basics of mistweaving. That's the key things that people need to understand. And honestly, try fist weaving. Go into an LFR and do Thok. If you can just do Thok as a fist weaver, just pounding the hell out of that ankle, and you'll be amazed how long you can keep people going.
All right, well, thanks, Duke, for that. I think it's now time to visit the home of all monks in
Zen Pilgrimage.
Monks, assemble!
All right, I want to talk about the All-Monk Flex that is coming up on both the Horde and the Alliance sides this weekend. For the Horde side, they are running on Sunday, April 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can sign up on Open Raid. We'll have the links in the show notes. You can also visit chiburst.com for the links to that as well. Alliance side, I will be running that on Saturday, April 26th at noon Eastern. And so you can also sign up via Open Raid, and again, visit either our show notes or chiburst.com for that. I know for the Alliance side, we are 13 of 14 in Flex, so we are going to be hammering on Garrosh this week. We're going to take him down. And let's see, the plan in June... the Horde and the Alliance are going to get together, and we're going to do a race. We're going to see which faction is the better Flex. So we're going to utterly destroy the Horde. Yes.
Need to make sure we bring out the big guns. And by big guns, I mean air.
Yeah.
Have these heroic trinkets that Chai doesn't, carrying us to victory.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll Mistweave, and you can win walk and kick everyone's butt. That's fine.
You're a master.
So yeah, that should be fun. We'll probably do a dual stream and have Jade Dot do the Horde side, and I'll do the Alliance side, and we'll see who wins out. All right, and let's see. Sissy Girl asked in the dojo, what server did we guys play the Horde tunes on? It's Bleeding Hollow US for the Horde side. And let's see, any other questions in the dojo I missed?
I don't think so.
All right, well, let's go ahead and sign off then. Air, what do you got for shoutouts?
Shoutouts. Let's see. Shoutouts to Quillen. He contacted me through Guild Chat. Actually, he's been watching the show lately. Likes what we're doing. So yeah, good luck to you, and hopefully get a chance to kick some stuff. And of course, a big shout out to my older team, Iron Deficiency, and let's see. Okay, memory now. Boone, Setic, Sushi, Stents, Glaive, Nerd, Prima, and of course Karn. You guys, from the beginning, thank you guys for the last 13 to 14 heroic last 7 months of this silly raid tier. And yeah, shout out to those guys, and we'll be back again sometime soon.
All right, Duke.
Well, just big props to Blizzard for the absolute fun that we had out there in PAX East. I got to hang out with a great guy, that random geek on Twitter, Adam, brewmaster extraordinaire. It was a lot of fun meeting him and his wife. And guys, if you're not doing PAX East, you need to. It's probably the most fun you can have that's still legal.
All right, LeBlue, you got any shout-outs from space?
From space, yeah. The Hubble telescope. Yeah. Just shout out to my raid team. Hopefully next week or two we finally have a stable enough roster to actually kill Garrosh. We're nearly one night all 13 heroic bosses, so eventually.
Yeah, you'll get him. You'll get him
Eventually, and
Good luck to you guys. Call me when you have it on farm.
Yeah.
I'll let you know, and you guys come in, get him out and title, and pay us 600k gold or something. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, well, I want to give a shout out to my team, Rolling Thunder. You guys have been great. We've been doing a lot of roster kind of shuffling around, trying to get everything. And this week, I think we're actually going to have everyone back. People have been gone to PAX or something, Duke, and to other places, so we haven't had a full roster in a while, but this week we should have it, and we're going to be facing down Claxy and Garrosh once more. Hopefully get some more heirlooms, and that would be nice. And a big shout out to LeBlue. Thank you so much for joining us on short notice. I get notification that we're 2 hosts down with a half an hour left. I'm like, LeBlue, help! And he came in, and you did great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Well, thanks to my girlfriend who didn't stab me for doing this, because she's looking at me right now and she's not very happy.
The night's still young.
Sorry, girlfriend.
Yeah, we're sorry. Alright guys, I think it's time to put away the brew, but first let's go see those great 5-star reviews. Alright, well, we had 2 of them this week. So from B-Master, good for monks everywhere, he says, 5 stars. As a new level 90 monk, this podcast has been a godsend on playing it better. Monks are the bomb, and this podcast is too. Nerf Disc Priest. Woo! Yep, Nerf Disc. Alright, and also from Seraphis, slowly helping me understand monks. I'm a complete...
Seraphis.
Yeah, I know. Seraphis is awesome. He's from CTR. So I'm a complete noob at monks, slowly leveling one up. Listening to these guys is preparing me to play my monk at max level. They're giving me what I like to call a monk head start. Alright, so please rate us on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube, or on twitch.tv. As part of the monk community, if you have a blog, website, or person you want to see on the show, please reach out to us via email. You can reach us at show@monkmeditation.com. The monk community is the best one in the World of Warcraft, and we want to showcase it. Duke, how can the dojo best reach us?
You can find us at Twitter. So the first one is the show at monk_meditation. You can follow Chai T at WowMonk. Naoyuki can be found at Naoyuki_CTR. Air can be found at Airwalker. I can be found at Daikatsu CTR, no underscore. Captain Crunch can be found at KPTN Crunch. And LeBlue can be found at Kagarai_LeBlue.
Good luck spelling that.
Not doing that.
Yeah, all right. Thank you all for listening. You can watch us live April 21st. Or is that today? That's today. So it'll be sometime in May, and 2 weeks from now. You'll figure it out. At 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, midnight UTC at twitch.tv/WowMonk. You can also catch us after the fact on iTunes, Stitcher, Twitch, YouTube, and monkmeditation.com. So Monk Meditation is part of Catalyst Gaming Media. For other great gaming blogs, podcasts, and events, please visit catalystgamingmedia.com. That wraps up this episode of Monk Meditation.
May your brews be strong and your heart stronger.
Good night, everybody.